For centuries, Earth was just a small, unimportant speck in the vast cosmos. While the Galactic Empire expanded their reach across dozens of star systems, humbling or destroying any planet that dared to resist, humanity remained quietly grounded, focused on their own world. But as the Empire's forces approached the Sol system, ready to claim it as yet another colony, they found something they hadn't expected: a planet that refused to bow. It started with a simple message broadcast across the void, reaching the massive fleet stationed just outside Earth's orbit. The message was clear and firm, delivered by Earth's united governments and military alliance. The Galactic Empire is denied all access to Terran space. Leave or face consequences. The Empire's commanders scoffed. How could a mere blue planet, with no advanced fleets or known alliances, dare to challenge the most powerful force in the galaxy? Their arrogance would soon be their downfall. What the Empire didn't realize was that humanity had spent decades quietly building and upgrading defenses, secretly reverse engineering alien technology recovered from long-forgotten encounters. They had trained not only soldiers but scientists, engineers, and strategists to prepare for the day the galaxy's predators finally came knocking. In the shadow of their massive starships, Earth's surface buzzed with activity. Underground bunkers housed cutting-edge weapon systems, orbital defense grids hummed with power, and new experimental ships launched into the upper atmosphere. The people of Earth, long underestimated and dismissed as weak, were ready. It wasn't just military might, though. Earth's greatest advantage lay in the human spirit, a fierce pride in their home and an unbreakable will to survive and protect their freedom. The Galactic Empire, used to planets surrendering or hiding, had never faced such determination. When the Empire's first fleet attempted to enter Terran space, they were met with an unexpected sight. Instead of the quiet submission they had anticipated, a coordinated defense unleashed a barrage of energy blasts and missile strikes. The Empire's ships, massive and intimidating, found themselves crippled and forced to retreat. Word of the victory spread quickly through the stars. Earth had stood its ground, and the Galactic Empire was denied. But this was only the beginning. The Empire would not let such defiance go unanswered, and Earth's leaders knew that the fight for their freedom was far from over. The stage was set for a conflict that would decide not just the fate of one planet, but the future of the entire galaxy. As news of Earth's bold defiance echoed across the galaxy, shockwaves rippled through the Galactic Empire's high command. For centuries, they had ruled with near absolute power, worlds bent to their will, rebellions crushed before they could spark, and their fleet considered unstoppable. Yet here was Earth, a single planet, standing firm and pushing them back. The Empire's emperor, a figure cloaked in mystery and feared across star systems, summoned his top generals. The message was simple but chilling. Crush the Terran defiance. Show no mercy. Their rebellion threatens the Empire's dominion. But the generals knew this would not be an easy task. Earth was unlike any other target. Despite lacking the raw numbers or technological advantages of the Empire's core worlds, humanity had one thing the Empire had overlooked: ingenuity fueled by desperation. Back on Earth, the world was unified like never before. Old political rivalries and conflicts faded beneath the common goal: survival. Scientists worked day and night, improving their defenses and finding new ways to fight an enemy that seemed almost invincible. Engineers converted everyday machines into weapons, hackers created defenses to block enemy communication, and military leaders trained a new breed of soldiers, skilled not just in combat, but in adapting to the chaos of war. One such soldier was Captain Mara Ellison, a former pilot turned commander of Earth's newly formed Terran defense fleet. She had grown up hearing stories of humanity's fragile place in the galaxy, but never imagined she'd be leading the charge against an empire. Now, standing on the bridge of her ship, she watched as the second wave of Empire warships approached. Unlike before, the Empire came prepared. Their ships moved with deadly precision, weapons charged and ready to blast open the planet's defenses. But Earth was ready too. When the battle began, the sky above the cities lit up with explosions and the hum of laser fire. Mara's ship weaved through enemy fire, striking back with newly developed plasma cannons. But what surprised the Empire most was Earth's ability to learn and adapt during the fight. Every attack the Empire launched was met with a new defense. The planet-wide network of sensors and weapons acted almost like a single mind, predicting enemy moves and countering with fierce determination. Despite their technological edge, the Empire's fleet suffered heavy losses. The soldiers, bred to conquer, found themselves outmaneuvered and outsmarted by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Amid the chaos, Mara's voice broke through the comms, steady and commanding, "Hold the line, for Earth, for freedom." As the battle raged on, it became clear to everyone involved that this war would be remembered for generations. Earth was no longer just a backwater planet. It was a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope that even the mightiest empire could be challenged. But the Empire's wrath was far from spent. They would return with new tactics, new weapons, and more ruthless commanders. The question wasn't if Earth would fall, it was whether humanity's spirit could hold strong long enough to rewrite the fate of the stars. The destruction of the Empire's first two fleets sent ripples of hope through Earth's people, but also a harsh reality. This was only the beginning of a war that would test every fiber of humanity's will. Captain Mara Ellison, though proud of her fleet's resilience, knew their victories came at a steep cost. Every battle left scars, ships lost, soldiers fallen, cities trembling under orbital bombardment threats. The Galactic Empire was far from defeated, and their next move promised to be more devastating. On the ground, life had transformed. Cities once bustling with everyday normalcy had become fortresses. Underground bunkers and tunnels connected entire districts, shielding civilians from the increasing bombardments. Schools turned into training grounds, and factories once producing consumer goods now forged weapons and armor. The whole planet was a war machine, fueled by determination but haunted by fear. Mara stood on the command deck of the flagship Resolute, her eyes scanning the incoming transmissions. Reports came in constantly: skirmishes on the outskirts of the atmosphere, civilian evacuations, sudden power failures in some cities suspected to be sabotage. The Empire was pulling no punches, sending specialized strike teams to weaken Earth's infrastructure and morale. One evening, as the red glow of distant explosions flickered across the horizon, Mara was briefed on a troubling discovery. The Empire had deployed a new weapon, a massive warship equipped with a technology so advanced it was nearly invisible to Earth's sensors. This ship, called the Eclipse, could slip through defenses and unleash devastating strikes before anyone knew it was there. The news sent a chill through the command center. Intelligence officers warned that the Eclipse was heading straight for Earth's largest orbital defense station, the last line of protection between the Empire's fleet and the planet's surface. "We can't let that station fall," Mara said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "If the Eclipse takes it out, the entire planet will be vulnerable. We need a plan, and fast." The Terran defense fleet scrambled to respond. Ships were redeployed, fighters launched in waves to intercept the Eclipse. But it was a daunting task. The enemy vessels' cloaking and stealth systems gave it the advantage of surprise. Mara personally led a squadron of fighters, weaving through laser fire and debris as they pursued the massive warship. The battle was unlike anything the fleet had faced. The Eclipse seemed to anticipate their moves, striking hard and then vanishing before counterattacks could land. Yet Earth scientists were relentless. Working around the clock, they developed a pulse device designed to disrupt the warship's stealth field. Mara's squadron carried the prototype, hoping to deploy it close enough to disable the Eclipse's cloak. As they closed in, tension gripped the fleet. Mara's voice cut through the comms. "This is it. Deploy the pulse on my mark." The pulse fired, sending a wave of energy rippling through space. For a moment, silence. Then the Eclipse shimmered into view, its dark hull exposed for the fleet to attack. The fighters surged forward, lasers blazing. The warship retaliated fiercely, but without its stealth, it was vulnerable. After a fierce, desperate battle, the Eclipse was crippled, forced to retreat. The victory was celebrated across Earth, a beacon of hope amid the grim reality of war. Yet Mara knew better than to let her guard down. The Empire was wounded, but far from broken. Back in the command center, Mara reviewed the aftermath. The Eclipse had been just one part of the Empire's strategy. Reports warned that a full-scale invasion fleet was being assembled, larger, deadlier, and more determined than ever. Earth's survival depended on more than weapons and tactics. It depended on the unity of its people. Mara visited the underground shelters where civilians lived, reminding them that their fight was not just against an empire of stars, but for the right to be free. "Remember," she told a group of young recruits, "the galaxy may be vast, but so is our resolve. We fight because this is our home. No empire can take that from us." As Earth prepared for the storm ahead, the message was clear. Humanity would not yield. Against the backdrop of stars and warships, a small blue planet stood defiantly, ready to change the course of history. The news that the Galactic Empire was amassing a massive invasion fleet hit Earth like a thunderclap. Everyone knew what that meant. The next battle would be unlike anything the planet had faced before. But rather than crush the spirit of Earth's defenders, it only strengthened their resolve. Captain Mara Ellison stood once again on the bridge of the Resolute, the flagship that had become a symbol of human resistance. The ship's hull vibrated slightly under the steady hum of the engines as it orbited above a planet transformed by war. Below, sprawling cities gleamed with countless lights, but the scars of conflict were clear. Damaged buildings, shuttered windows, and air thick with the tension of uncertainty. The invasion fleet was enormous. Thousands of Empire warships, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to sleek fighter squadrons, gathered beyond the outer reaches of the Sol system. Their intent was clear: break Earth's defenses and bring the planet under Imperial control once and for all. But Earth was ready. Months of preparation, endless nights of planning, and sacrifices had forged a defense unlike any other. Scientists had completed upgrades to the planetary shield, now capable of withstanding direct hits from even the largest of Imperial weapons. New classes of ships, faster and more maneuverable, filled the ranks of the Terran defense fleet. And crucially, humanity's network of allies had begun to emerge. Distant colonies and outposts that had once kept quiet now sent reinforcements, equipment, and intelligence. Mara knew this wouldn't be a war of just firepower, but of willpower and strategy. The Galactic Empire expected a straightforward conquest. They had underestimated humanity's ability to unite under pressure. "Commander Ellison," the communications officer announced. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Kasari of the Andromeda outpost." Mara tapped the screen, and a stern but hopeful face appeared. "Captain, we've dispatched a fleet to join your defenses. Our people have long suffered under the Empire's rule, and we stand ready to fight alongside Earth. Together, we have a chance." The news lifted spirits aboard the Resolute. Allies meant more than ships and weapons. They meant shared hope, shared sacrifice, and shared dreams of freedom. As the invasion fleet approached, Mara prepared her forces for the first clash. The battle would be fought in space above Earth, a vast chess game of destruction and survival. The Terran ships formed tight formations, each pilot aware that their lives, and the lives of billions below, depended on their skill and courage. The first shots were fired with a terrifying intensity. Imperial dreadnoughts unleashed torrents of plasma, shaking Earth's orbital defenses. Fighters darted between massive warships, engaging in dogfights that tested every pilot's nerve and reflex. Mara led her squadron in a daring assault against the Empire's command ship, aiming to disrupt their coordination. As her fighters weaved through enemy fire, she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Every decision could tip the balance between victory and annihilation. Despite overwhelming odds, Earth's forces pushed back. Coordinated strikes shattered enemy vessels, while the planetary shield absorbed devastating blows. On the ground, people watched the skies with bated breath, knowing their survival depended on this battle. But the Empire had one more weapon, a doomsday device hidden aboard a colossal ship named the Oblivion. Its destructive power was said to be capable of wiping out entire continents in seconds. When news of the Oblivion's approach reached Earth's command, panic threatened to break through the hardened defenses. Mara convened an emergency meeting with top strategists and scientists. They had no time to lose. The plan was risky. A specialized strike team would board the Oblivion and disable the doomsday device from within. Mara volunteered to lead the mission, understanding that the fate of millions depended on their success. The boarding was brutal. The Imperial ship was heavily guarded, corridors crawling with elite soldiers and automated defenses. But Mara's team moved with precision and determination, pushing deeper into the heart of the Oblivion. As they reached the control room, Mara found herself face to face with the Empire's ruthless commander, a man known only as Varek. His cold eyes reflected the endless cruelty of the Empire. "You think you can stop us?" Varek sneered. "Earth will fall, like all the others." Mara tightened her grip on her weapon. "We're not just fighting for survival, we're fighting for the right to be free, and we'll never surrender." The battle that followed was fierce and personal, echoing the larger war outside. But Mara and her team succeeded in destroying the doomsday device, causing chaos aboard the Oblivion and giving Earth's fleet the chance to deliver a crushing blow. As the Imperial ship exploded in a fireball, visible even from Earth's surface, a wave of hope swept the planet. The Empire's greatest weapon was gone, and the defenders of Earth had proven their strength once again. But Mara knew the war was far from over. The Empire would regroup, adapt, and return. Earth's fight was just beginning. Yet beneath the pressure and fear, one truth remained unshaken. Humanity would never bow. Against the stars and empires, Earth stood defiant, a beacon of hope in a dark galaxy. The destruction of the Oblivion sent shockwaves through the Galactic Empire's leadership. Losing their doomsday weapon was a humiliating blow, one that rattled their confidence and angered the Emperor beyond measure. But for Earth, it was more than just a victory. It was proof that the mighty Empire could be beaten, that even the smallest planet could stand tall against tyranny. Despite the celebrations, Captain Mara Ellison understood that this was far from the end. The Empire was vast and ruthless. They had resources and powers that extended across countless star systems. The war was entering a new phase, one where survival would depend on more than firepower alone. Back on Earth, the mood was tense but hopeful. Civilians continued their daily lives amid air raid drills and rationing, while soldiers trained harder than ever. Mara found herself traveling frequently between the frontline ships and the surface, visiting military bases and speaking to the people who were the true backbone of the resistance. During one visit to a training camp on the outskirts of a rebuilt city, Mara met a young recruit named Jace. He was barely 18, but his eyes burned with determination. When Mara asked why he wanted to fight, he said simply, "Because if we don't, no one else will." Jace's words struck a chord. This war was no longer just about fleets and battles. It was about ordinary people refusing to lose their future. But the Empire was not idle. They shifted tactics, launching covert operations to sabotage Earth's infrastructure. Supply lines were attacked, communication networks hacked, and spies infiltrated key positions. The constant threat kept everyone on edge. One night, as Mara reviewed security reports aboard the Resolute, a distress signal crackled over the comms. An outpost on the far side of the planet had been overrun by Imperial forces. The message was desperate. Civilians were trapped, defenses collapsing. Without hesitation, Mara ordered an immediate rescue mission. The fleet raced through the atmosphere, dodging enemy fire and debris. As they approached the outpost, Mara's heart pounded. The place was a ruin, buildings shattered, smoke rising from fires, the air thick with fear. Landing teams quickly deployed, pushing back the Imperial soldiers in brutal close-quarters combat. Mara led from the front, her presence inspiring the troops. The rescue was successful, but the cost was high. Many brave defenders were lost, and the survivors carried scars, both visible and hidden. The incident was a stark reminder. The Empire's reach was long and merciless, and victory would not come without sacrifice. In the following weeks, Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to strengthen defenses and root out spies. The Terran defense fleet increased patrols, hunting down Imperial infiltrators. Scientists accelerated research into new technologies, energy shields, advanced AI systems, and faster propulsion for ships. But the war's toll was evident. Cities bore the marks of battle, and families mourned lost loved ones. Fear and exhaustion threatened to wear down the people's resolve. During a rare moment of quiet, Mara sat alone on a balcony overlooking the city's skyline. The stars above were bright and endless, a reminder of the vast universe beyond Earth. She thought about the path that had brought humanity to this point, from simple farmers and traders to warriors defending their home against a galactic superpower. The memory of her first battle flashed in her mind. The sound of lasers, the sight of falling ships, the faces of her crew. It was a heavy burden, but one she bore with pride. Her communicator beeped softly, breaking her thoughts. It was a message from the Planetary Council. A new Imperial fleet was detected, heading toward Earth's southern hemisphere. Mara rose, determination burning in her eyes. The next battle was coming. This time, it would be even fiercer. She knew the Empire would not stop until Earth was crushed or broken. But she also knew something more important. Humanity's spirit was unbreakable. No matter the cost, they would fight, survive, and protect their home. As the night deepened, Mara prepared her fleet once again. The war for Earth was far from over. But with every star that shone in the sky, she found hope. A promise that even in the darkest times, humanity would never surrender. The new Imperial fleet approached Earth with a terrifying display of power. Hundreds of warships glinted against the starry backdrop, their engines burning bright as they closed in on the planet's southern hemisphere. The Terran defense fleet scrambled into position, every pilot and soldier aware that the coming battle would push them to the edge of endurance. Captain Mara Ellison stood once again on the bridge of the Resolute, her gaze fixed on the enemy armada. The room buzzed with tension, the air thick with anticipation and fear. This was the largest fleet the Empire had sent yet, and the stakes had never been higher. "Status report," Mara ordered, her voice calm but firm. "Shields at 75%, weapon systems online," replied her tactical officer. "Fighter squadrons deployed and awaiting orders." "Good. Prepare for full engagement. This is our home. We fight to the last breath." The first salvo came swiftly. Imperial dreadnoughts unleashed torrents of plasma and missile fire, striking at Earth's orbital defenses. Explosions rippled across space as shields absorbed the impacts, but cracks began to form. The Empire's firepower was immense, relentless. Mara's squadron was launched into the fray. They darted between enemy fire, targeting vulnerable ships with precise strikes. Dogfights erupted across the void, bright streaks of laser light tracing deadly patterns against the darkness. Amid the chaos, Mara received an urgent message. Imperial boarding pods had detached from their motherships, heading toward Earth's surface. The enemy intended to bypass orbital defenses and strike directly at key cities. Deploy ground intercept teams immediately. Mara commanded. We cannot let them land. On Earth, rapid response units scrambled to intercept the boarding pods. Armed with advanced weapons and tactical gear, they engaged in fierce battles in the skies and streets. The people of Earth had become warriors, fighting not only in space but on their own land. Despite their courage, the boarding teams faced brutal opposition. Imperial soldiers were well-trained, ruthless, and equipped with technology designed to dominate. Skirmishes turned into fierce urban warfare, with streets becoming battlegrounds. Back on the Resolute, Mara coordinated with ground commanders, her mind racing to keep up with the rapidly shifting conflict. She knew that if the boarding teams were overwhelmed, the Empire would gain a foothold on Earth, something the planet could not afford. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Sensors detected a new threat. Stealth fighters, invisible to most detection systems, weaving through Earth's defenses to target critical infrastructure. Mara's eyes narrowed. The Empire was testing new tactics, exploiting every weakness they could find. She ordered her own stealth squadron, specially trained for counter-stealth operations, to intercept. The ensuing battle was a deadly game of cat and mouse, with ships disappearing and reappearing in blinding bursts of energy. Meanwhile, on the ground, civilians huddled in shelters as distant explosions rocked the cities. Families held on to hope, knowing the fight for their planet was being waged by brave souls above. As hours turned into days, the battle showed no signs of slowing. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but Earth's defenders remained unbroken. Mara's leadership and the people's resilience forged an unyielding shield around their home. In a brief lull, Mara addressed her crew, her voice steady and inspiring. We are the last line of defense, but we are also the first hope. The Empire wants to crush us, but they cannot break our spirit. Remember what we fight for, our families, our freedom, our future. Hold strong. We will prevail. Her words rekindled determination, reminding everyone that this fight was about more than just warships and weapons. It was about the heart of humanity. But the Empire's commanders were ruthless. They unleashed a new weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of firing a beam strong enough to pierce Earth's planetary shield. As the weapon charged, panic spread among the Terran fleet. Mara knew that if the cannon fired, it could spell disaster. With no time to lose, she ordered a desperate assault on the weapon's platform. Fighters surged forward in a coordinated strike, dodging heavy fire to reach their target. The battle was fierce. Many fighters were lost, but Mara's squadron pressed on, destroying the cannon just seconds before it could fire. The explosion rocked the battlefield, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. The tide of the battle turned. With the cannon destroyed and their forces battered, the Empire's fleet began to retreat. Mara watched as the enemy ships disengaged, their arrogance replaced with cautious withdrawal. Earth had won this battle. But Mara knew the war was far from over. As the stars twinkled above the battered but unbroken planet, she vowed to keep fighting. Humanity's spirit was a flame that no empire could extinguish. The Empire's retreat was a bitter victory. Earth's skies were stained with the wreckage of war, but the planet remained free. For now. Captain Mara Ellison stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the last of the Imperial ships disappear into the void. Relief mixed with exhaustion in the room, but Mara knew better than to celebrate too soon. The Empire was vast, cunning, and relentless. Their defeat in the latest battle was a setback, not the end. Intelligence reports warned of reinforcements gathering in secret sectors, and whispers of a new weapon even deadlier than the Oblivion began to circulate. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the battle was visible everywhere. Cities bore the scars of orbital bombardments and ground skirmishes. Families mourned those who never returned, and survivors struggled to rebuild amid the ruins. Yet the human spirit remained unbroken. Mara made it her mission to visit the hardest-hit areas, to remind people that their sacrifices were not in vain. She traveled across shattered cities, speaking to civilians and soldiers alike, drawing strength from their resilience and determination. During one such visit, she met an elderly man named Elias, a former scientist who had helped develop the early defense systems. His eyes were tired but bright as he told Mara, "We built this world to last. You're fighting not just for Earth, but for the future of all who call it home." Those words resonated deeply with Mara. The war had become more than a battle for survival. It was a fight to preserve humanity's place in the galaxy. Meanwhile, the Terran defense fleet focused on strengthening Earth's defenses. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged systems, improve shielding technology, and develop new offensive weapons. Scientists studied Imperial tactics, looking for weaknesses to exploit. Mara led training exercises designed to prepare crews for every possible scenario. She pushed her pilots harder than ever, demanding excellence and adaptability. The enemy was unpredictable, and the Terran fleet had to be ready for anything. One evening, as Mara reviewed the latest intelligence, an urgent alert flashed across the screen. A reconnaissance probe detected a strange energy signature in a nearby star system, one that matched the description of the rumored new Imperial weapon. Without hesitation, Mara ordered a strike team to investigate. The mission was dangerous, but the information could be vital. The team traveled quickly through space, their ship slipping past patrols and sensors. When they reached the system, what they found was chilling. A massive construction yard floated in orbit around a dead star, a hidden shipyard building a weapon unlike any seen before. The weapon was a colossal plasma cannon designed to destroy entire planets with a single shot. The scale of the threat was staggering. If the Empire succeeded in completing and deploying this weapon, Earth would face annihilation. Mara's team sent back detailed scans and plans. The Terran commanders knew they had to act fast. A plan was formed, a daring assault on the shipyard to destroy the plasma cannon before it could be finished. Mara volunteered to lead the mission, knowing the stakes couldn't be higher. The fleet prepared quietly, gathering their best ships and crews for the operation. As they approached the shipyard, Mara felt a familiar mix of fear and determination. This was a chance to strike a decisive blow against the Empire, but the risks were immense. The battle that followed was intense and chaotic. The shipyard's defenses were formidable, with automated turrets, fighter patrols, and energy shields guarding every approach. Mara led the assault squadron, navigating through a hail of fire to reach the plasma cannon's core. Explosions rocked the shipyard as the fleet pushed forward, each ship fighting for survival. Inside the cannon's control center, Mara and her team planted explosives while defending against waves of enemy soldiers. The tension was unbearable, every second bringing them closer to either victory or destruction. With the charges set, Mara gave the order to retreat. The team raced back to their ships as the explosives detonated, igniting a chain reaction that tore through the shipyard. Flames and debris filled space as the massive structure collapsed. The plasma cannon was destroyed, and the threat to Earth was averted, at least for now. The fleet retreated quickly, avoiding enemy reinforcements arriving too late to stop the destruction. Back on the Resolute, Mara allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. The victory was significant, but the war was far from over. The Empire would regroup, build new weapons, and send new fleets. But Earth had proven its strength and will to survive. As Mara looked out at the stars, she thought about the countless lives lost and the countless more depending on her leadership. The fight was far from finished, but humanity's flame burned brighter than ever. And no empire, no matter how vast or powerful, would ever extinguish it. The final battle had been looming on the horizon ever since Earth first declared its defiance. Months of relentless war, sacrifice, and strategy had shaped a planet transformed into a fortress and a people united by a common cause. Captain Mara Ellison stood on the bridge of the Resolute, knowing this battle would decide the fate of humanity. The Galactic Empire's last and largest fleet assembled in the far reaches of the system was unlike anything Earth had faced before. Its armada stretched across the void like a dark storm, countless warships ready to crush the resistance once and for all. At the heart of the fleet was the Emperor's personal flagship, a colossal dreadnought named the Dominus, rumored to carry technology that could obliterate entire cities with a single strike. But Earth was ready. Its defenses were stronger, its fleets faster and smarter. Most importantly, humanity's spirit was fiercer than ever. "Everyone," Mara addressed the command crew, her voice steady and strong. "This is the moment we've been preparing for. The Empire thinks they can break us, but they don't understand who we are. We fight for every home, every family, every dream. Today we show them the strength of Earth's will." The battle erupted like a storm. Laser fire and plasma beams tore through space, exploding against shields and hulls. Fighters screamed through the void, dodging enemy fire and striking with precision. Explosions blossomed in brilliant colors, lighting the darkness with fierce intensity. Mara piloted the Resolute into the thick of the fight, coordinating strikes and rallying her forces. She moved like a force of nature, calm under pressure, inspiring all who followed her. The Empire unleashed its deadliest weapons. The Dominus fired devastating barrages that shook the Terran shields. Enemy fighters swarmed in overwhelming numbers, trying to break the fleet's formations. Yet Earth's forces held strong, their coordination flawless. Allied fleets from distant colonies joined the fight, adding their strength and hope to the battle. The galaxy had taken notice. This was not just Earth's fight anymore. During a critical moment, Mara led a daring assault squadron directly against the Dominus. The dreadnought's defenses were nearly impenetrable, but the squadron struck with fierce determination, exploiting weak points identified by Earth's scientists. Inside the flagship, Mara's boarding team infiltrated the ship. They fought through corridors filled with enemy soldiers and automated defenses, making their way toward the Central Command Core. The air was thick with tension and danger, but their mission was clear: disable the Dominus and end the battle. As Mara reached the core room, she faced the Emperor's elite guard. The fight was brutal, but her resolve unshaken. With precise strikes and fierce determination, she and her team succeeded in shutting down the ship's systems. Back outside, the Dominus lost power and control. The Terran fleet seized the moment, delivering a final crushing barrage that shattered the dreadnought into fragments. With their flagship destroyed and morale shattered, the Empire's fleet began a desperate retreat. The warships fled through the stars, pursued by Earth's victorious fleet. Cheers erupted across Earth and its colonies as news of the victory spread. Humanity had done the impossible. They had stood against the might of a galactic empire and won. But Mara knew this victory was not just about ships and battles. It was about the unyielding human spirit, the will to protect what mattered most, and the courage to fight for freedom against all odds. On the surface, people poured into the streets, celebrating their hard-won peace. Families reunited, tears of relief and joy mingling with the scars of war. The stars above seemed brighter, as if the universe itself was acknowledging Earth's triumph. In the days that followed, Earth began the long process of healing and rebuilding. The Terran defense fleet stood vigilant, prepared to defend their home should the Empire ever return. Mara stood once more beneath the night sky, looking up at the vast cosmos she had fought to protect. The war had changed everything. The galaxy was no longer a place of fear and submission, but a place where humanity had earned its place. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth would never be conquered. No empire, no matter how powerful, could break the spirit of a people who chose freedom above all. And so, beneath the endless stars, humanity's story continued, bold, defiant, and forever shining.